Thank you for listening to the Invisible Marketer podcast. I'm your host, Coena. In this episode, I'm sitting down with Elizabeth Johnson. She's a really great friend of mine, and I've just been blown away at the techniques that she uses in her storytelling. She's a story coach with over a decade of experience in teaching and coaching, and she focuses on helping individuals with their transformational stories. In this episode, we dive in to the power of storytelling, the realities of social media, and she also shares her unique process on how you can align your vision with purpose through storytelling. If you want to access today's show notes, those can be found at invisiblemarketer.com/story. Let's dive on in.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I did a live Q&A a few months ago and you watched it and you left some comments on it. And I so appreciated that you did that. And for everybody out there, when you're watching a video and somebody's training or teaching you something or sharing some wisdom, like definitely put comments on it because it helps us to feel like we're being listened to and heard. But also when you give the comments about what you found valuable, because what surprised me was that you touched on things that I hadn't even thought would be something of value. For me, it's just like breathing. And I didn't realize that people who aren't schooled in story to the extent that I am wouldn't know that. So things that I take for granted that are common knowledge, and then other people's like, oh, wow. And it helped me so much because I realized I need to go over the fundamentals. And even though I've gone over them in previous lives or something that I've done, I need to revisit them every time in some way, right? Because there's could be new people watching and they could be in the same position that you were when you watched that live I did a few months ago. So it was just so instructive for me to see like what you thought was important and valued and what you knew and what you didn't know. So that was really valuable.
That's a really good point because when we're up there and maybe it's our first live or it's our 100th live and we feel like nobody's watching. So when you put that comment on there, like I get it because I was the same way. We put all this effort into creating content and doing this on social media just to help people. And it's really good to get that validation and definitely good to get the feedback. More people should comment, especially if they're getting anything out of it.
Yeah. And that's key. Like if you feel like you're getting value from it, if it's giving you an aha moment or like, oh, I didn't know that, or yeah, I knew that, but I forgot that, anything like that, you should definitely write it in the comments, not just because it's nice to do that for the person who's doing the live or posting the recording or whatever it is, but it's mainly for you because when you write things out, when you take that action from it just being in your head to actually like typing it out, what was important, then you're training your body and your brain to remember that. And you're more likely to take action on that nugget of knowledge now that you've actually left that comment than if you just like, oh yeah, that was interesting, go about your day.
Already, we're just not even a minute in there and look at that. I just love it. What inspired you to become an entrepreneur?
It was over 10 years ago when I decided that I wanted to do more things outside of the school where I teach. I would teach all different kinds of creative writing and eventually moved into business communication and then storytelling and business. There were so many people who would come up to me and say, oh, you teach this. That's so awesome. I'd love to take a course with you, but I'm not available during the day or I'm not available during the evening or something. And I thought, what if I could put something together that condenses all the knowledge and it's like a kickstart, like a boot camp, like do a 1-day thing or something. And so I started doing more things outside of my teaching. That really is what started it off. But also I always considered myself as working for myself, even though I was working for a school or a university, because basically like they hire me to teach something and then I create the course and I go in there and I teach it and then I go home. And like, I kind of lived a bit in a bubble and thinking like I was an entrepreneur. But then over the years, because the longer you're in teaching, the more that they want you to be on committees and give you all these other responsibilities. And it's like, no, I just want to do the teaching and the coaching. I don't want to do all of that administrative stuff. And so that's really when I decided, no, I want to be my own person and I want to be my own entrepreneur. And I want to really, truly be an entrepreneur, not just somebody somebody who's like on contract. And that's what started me off.
I love that you're a teacher and that you did that. Just so much to be a teacher too. What are some common misconceptions that you've encountered throughout your journey?
Well, one of the things is that being an online coach, an online entrepreneur, it's not the same at all as a brick and mortar type business. And there is a lot of overlap in terms of social media and promotion, but the mindset behind being an entrepreneur in brick and mortar versus online is completely different, but also the methods that you use to promote yourself can be different. And so the one thing that kind of hindered me in my journey as an entrepreneur is not getting that soon enough. If I was starting now with all the knowledge that I have, like I would do things differently. And because the mindset that you need to be an online entrepreneur, especially if you're coming from teaching or coaching or being really successful in a corporate job, because that gives you a false sense of your ability to track people. Because when I was teaching, I go into the classroom, there's 30, 60, 120 people, whatever. And you kind of think like they're showing up for you. It's like, no, they're showing up for the university or the school or get the credits. It's like, you're replaceable. And so when I went into the online coaching field, I thought like, oh, well, I've got these degrees, I've got this experience. I'll just put that out there, put my shingle out there. And just like my courses, yeah, tons of people will show up. Well, it's not the same thing, right? Because they need to know, like, and trust you. When I'm teaching at an institution, that institution has their own know, like, and trust. They've established their reputation and whatnot for years and years. Plus, they have $1 zillion budget. And so you as an entrepreneur, as a coach, right, you have to realize that even if you were successful somewhere else and it was brick and mortar, you have to do all of that pre-work in order for you to be seen and noticed and know, liked, and trust, right? So that was like a huge thing for me to really wrap my head around everything that needs to be done in order to get to that point where people start recognizing you. And it's like, oh, yeah. And this actually is showing up now in my social media. Maybe we can segue into that as well. But 6 months ago, a friend of mine, she's a Facebook friend, and she knows that I'm a story coach and knows what I do, and that I particularly like helping people who are healers or people who have a transformational story of they had an issue and they figured out how to heal themselves or overcome that obstacle. And now they're helping other people do that. I really love working with those type of people. And she's one of these people that I would love to work with. So it was really great to see that she knew what I did, not just that I showed up in her feed, but she still didn't know if I could help her. And this was like about 6 months ago. And so clearly I wasn't showing up on a regular, consistent basis so that she could see in what I'm putting out there that I can help her. So that's really important. It's like what you put out there and the consistency and the regularity that you have to be out there constantly, almost repeating yourself to death about what you do and how you can help people, interspersed with giving them value and whatnot. But you really have to like say it again and again. That's another thing that I just didn't realize how much I have to repeat myself because it made me feel embarrassed to have to repeat myself all the time, because I thought they're going to think that that's all I have to say, or they're going to think that I forgot that I said it before or something. But no, it's today. Like in advertising years ago, they said that it takes 7 touch points for people to know that Coca-Cola has a new flavor, right? And now it's more like 12. It's probably even going to go up, that they need like 12, 15, 20 touch points before they recognize like, oh yeah, who is this Elizabeth's person? Who is this Cohen? Oh yeah, I think I've seen her before, right? And so we can't be shy. We can't think that, oh, we're repeating ourselves and people are going to think we're dumb or something. No, it's like we have to get ourselves heard amongst like all of the noise that's out there, especially on Facebook. And so this person who, like I said, she'd be my ideal client, she finally started commenting on things because she was shy too, right? And so she finally started commenting on things, but that was only after I started posting every single day. And so you and I were on that stretch in January and then February. And now we're in a new stretch here in March. And I really saw a difference when I post every single day on Facebook and intersperse it, mix it up with what you're posting, that it really boosts you in the algorithm. And then all of a sudden, those people that are on your feed that are following you, they notice you. And then they'll comment. And then that kind of breaks the ice and you can go from there. But really being consistent and posting every day, even if you think it's like overkill, just do it. So maybe I'll stop there and let you ask me another question because I could go on
No,
and on
but that was
about that.
perfect. And I could too. Honestly, I could talk all day about this. Before I was an introvert, I was scared to put myself out there. And I'm thinking, all I have to do is get on video. All I have to do is post on social media every single day. And people are just going to flock because they need this so bad. Well, was I in for a treat? I mean, and that is so true. People need to know who we are. We need to build relationships with them so that they get to know, like, and trust us. But it's really hard because their attention spans are really short. Like everybody's is starting to be really short. We just want to scroll on by and it's really hard to get their attention. Plus there's so many things out there that are not good. And so now it's even harder to find that trust because they're thinking, oh, you're just like everybody else. So it's been really tough in that aspect. I showed up in January and February as myself, being honest, and they can see like my Facebook has mostly been family for the last 20 years. So they can kind of see if they go back that far, like who I am as a person. So I have had people since this stretch every morning reaching out to me, asking me a question, whether it be tech question, because that's something I'm really good at and different things. So it's really great to be able to have people actually reaching out to me. But you are so right. Like that was one of my misconceptions too. And it just like hit me like a brick when I realized that this is not as easy as what you think. Even if you get out there on camera, it's not easy and it will be hard. But do you think it's worth it, in your opinion?
Yeah, I definitely think it's worth it. And specifically because this time around, because I have had bursts of showing up on social. Back in October, actually, I went live for every day for about 21 days leading up to my birthday. Initially, I was just going to do it for 14 days leading up to my birthday, but then I went a week after it because I was just enjoying myself so much. And that's when this person who I know that one day she'll be my client. But she first reached out to me and she said, I don't usually turn the volume on and I don't actually know what you're saying, but just your expression and your smile, it just brightens up my day. So I just love to watch you come up in my feed. But what I enjoyed so much about that was that I decided I am just going to go and talk about all of the things that I think are important about using story in your business and about being an online entrepreneur and share some of my, values and my reasons for doing what I do and how I'm different and that kind of stuff. And I'm so glad I did because I was able to voice things that I had been afraid to say up until that point. I just decided that I'm going to give myself permission to just say this. And a lot of the stuff that I was holding in was things from previous coaches that I had who said, no, don't do this. No, don't do that. No, don't go down that niche because it's going to be hard to make money. Don't do this. Don't do that. And it's like, okay, don't do this. Don't do that. All right. But what can I do? I just felt like I was the Wicked Witch of the West. I'm melting. I'm melting. And it's like, where am I? And so I just decided I'm going to say what I want to say. And nothing bad happened to me. I didn't actually melt. And I got clarity on how I really want to show up because I already knew this about myself. I just hadn't been saying it out loud. So then I didn't keep that daily stuff up. But fast forward to January, to that stretch that we started with. And I thought, what am I going to put in all of those days? What am I going to say every single day for 31 days in January? But as I got into it, I realized like, okay, I've got a challenge coming up. What am I going to do like the week before, the 2 weeks before? So I started with the end in mind and working towards that. But I also was much more courageous about saying what I do and what I believe and how I help people. Because still, people who know that I'm a story coach, they will still say, oh, can you do my about page? Can you write the copy for my email sequence? I don't do that. I help people unearth their personal stories to use in their business, and they get clarity on their business vision and purpose. And that's the first thing that happens, right? Because like you're not going to get any clients if you are first just thinking like, oh, I'm going to get this story, plug it in there and I'll get a zillion clients. No, it doesn't happen that way, because the reason you don't have a zillion clients is that you're not aligned with your business vision and who you want to serve. And story, the way that I help people with it, helps unearth that. And so it's first helps them and then they can use it in their business. So that's what makes me different. I approach it differently than other people and other coaches. It's been so great. I felt so good in being able to say, this is the kind of story coach I am. Instead of having to say, no, I don't do that. No, I don't do this. No, I don't do that either. Now starting with, this is who I am. This is what I do. This is how I can help you. And that's the message that I'm just going to keep repeating and repeating. And it's not ad nauseum. It's like forever and ever. And this is so amazing and wonderful. That's the mindset shift that I've undergone as well. I'm not thinking like, oh, like I don't know what to post. Now I get up every day and I'm so excited to go out there and do my thing. And I know that the people that are resonating with me are going to find me. And if I don't do my thing, they're never going to find me.
We don't have to be like everybody else. Let's build our own path. Let's be unique, be different. And it's okay to be like that.
Yeah.
Like we don't have to be like all these other storytellers or coaches. You want to stand out. It's like Russell Brunson talked about standing out, being different. And that's what I saw in you. And that's one of the main reasons why I wanted you to come on and sit down with me, because I see that you're different and I see that it's unique. And I love that you're going out there and you found your voice and you're being confident in what you're saying and you're helping people understand the difference and how you're different. And I love that. I want you to keep doing that because it's okay to be different.
Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it.
Are you enjoying today's episode and feeling inspired by the stories and the strategies that you are hearing? I would like to personally invite you to be a part of a community that is filled with people from all walks of life. Inside of there, you will discover a welcoming space filled with fellow introverts and entrepreneurs who share their knowledge, exchange ideas, and support each other's growth. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or you're new to this journey, our community is here to empower you every step of the way. You can gain access to exclusive training, insightful discussions, and valuable networking opportunities by joining our community today. Let's collaborate, learn, and grow together. Head on over to community.invisiblemarketer.com and become part of our amazing family. What role has mentorship played in your success?
That's such an interesting question. I've long thought about that word mentor that we use in the online space. I don't know that I agree with how a lot of people use that word, because when I look back on the coaches that I've had and the experts that I've interacted with, I wouldn't necessarily call them mentors. Although I know that there is a way of thinking of them as that, because I can think of an author of a book that I've never met as a mentor of mine. I do sometimes think of that. But for me, a mentor is somebody that out of the goodness of their heart sees something in you, sees some kind of potential in you, and reaches out to you and say, hey, I'd be happy to help you do X, Y, and Z, something like that. Les Brown is a motivational speaker, and he has a story where I think he was, I don't know, sweeping the floors or something after hours in an office building, and somebody saw some potential in him and gave him some advice on an ongoing basis. And that kind of started him off on his path. And so for me, that's what I think a mentor is somebody out of the goodness of their heart, spending some time with you. Maybe it's on a regular basis. Maybe it's just one time they sit down and over a coffee or something, and then at an airport and you never see them again, but they just change your life so immensely by their generosity or their perspective or something like that. But generally, I think mentorship is something that's ongoing and that there isn't a money exchange in it. There might be an exchange in terms of like, you want to learn the ropes of podcasting? Well, be my VA or something, right? I wouldn't say that I actually have had mentors. I've had people that have been really impactful in my entrepreneurial journey, and I've learned so much from each of the coaches that I've paid for. But I suppose if I dial it back a little bit and say the mentors that I have are often people like Sadhguru. I listen to his stuff, or Stephen Bartlett. I listen to his podcast, or Dr. Gabor Mate. Even though I've never met them, I consider that the impact that they've had on my life and point of view and my mindset have been extraordinary. So even going back to a humanities teacher that I had in university, Don Coles, and he's a poet. He was a poet. He actually got me into creative writing. And I didn't even know that a creative writing program existed, but I was taking a humanities class with him. He gave me back an essay and asked me to come to see him in his office. And I thought, oh, I'm in trouble or something. But no, he just said, like, the essay that I wrote was not really good as an essay, but it was great as a story. And had I ever thought of going into creative writing, he said, we have to put together a portfolio. I go, what's a portfolio? He said, well, do you have journals? Do you write in a diary? Bring that in. We can go through it. For me, that was a mentor, right? Like, he wasn't getting paid by the university to do that. And he helped me put my portfolio together. I got accepted. I think that he's my only mentor that I can think of, right? But actually, no, there's another one. Do I have time to share another one?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I left home when I was 16. And before I left home, I was actually in the militia, the part-time weekend warriors, whatever you call them. Luckily, I was able to get a job there instead of living on the streets or whatever. So I got a full-time job working in the part-time military. And the woman that I ended up working for, she was a major. Well, she was a captain then. And I was her secretary. She just saw this 16-year-old girl, couldn't believe, how come you're on your own? And why aren't you at home? And she just took me under her wing. I don't think that I would have fared so well in my late teens to early 20s if it weren't for her looking out for me. I would consider her a mentor, just out of the blue, helping somebody that she thought she could help and saw potentially. I remained friends with her until she died a couple of years ago. Don Coles and Margot McDonald, who was a major, those two I would consider my mentors, but I haven't really had like online entrepreneurial mentors, but I've had people who have been impactful in my journey. I'm so glad that I'm in their orbit. There's some people that are just amazing and so giving. And I think I have to mention Doug Boughton from A&O. Like, he really sets the standard of give first. That won me over. I think that's what he does. I'm learning a lot from him. I could say that he's a mentor, but not in the same way as the other two that I mentioned. I don't think in the same way as Les Brown had a mentor when he was coming up in the world either.
I love that take on it. I always thought a mentor as kind of a coach. For me, I feel like it's if you're stuck and you're trying to figure something out and you keep going back and forth, and you keep repeating this cycle over and over again. And you find someone that actually gets you unstuck, that helps you get unstuck, that unlocks something inside of you that helps you get over that hurdle, then that is considered a mentor. And that's how I feel like Doug is for me, because I was never wanting to be on social media. I still think if I hadn't met Doug and the community, not just Doug, just the community too, all of them and you, but if I hadn't have met them, I probably would still be going from one product to the next and program and never get anywhere. So I feel like that was a mentor for me because of that. I love how you put that, because everybody thinks of that differently.
I like the way that you mentioned the community with Doug. A lot of our aha moments and our growth happens because of the community. He created it. He gets full kudos for creating that amazing community. But it's because we in it are showing up for ourselves, but also for each other. I almost think that because we are helping each other as well, it's kind of like we're micro mentors to each other.
Absolutely. When I find that someone is down, or I feel like I haven't seen them in a while, what's going on with them? I notice things like that. I'm like, how are you? Can I help you with anything? What do you need? It's keeping each other. And of course, you're one of my accountability partners for the whole year.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Which we have fun, don't we? So
yes, we do. We do. Yeah, it's so great.
We make it fun. I do agree. I feel like we're mentoring each other and we're growing together, and I love it. I love that we're able to do that and we're blessed to have that opportunity.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
How do you prioritize self-care and mental well-being with the demands of a business and balancing life and family and business and everything?
That is such a good question. Years ago, I started teaching this course, Self-Management Strategies, and it was for university students who failed out of their program, and they had to take this course to get back on track with their academic goals. And part of it is like goal setting, motivation, time management, all that kind of stuff. And there was this exercise in the textbook that we were using of shadowing yourself for a whole week about what exactly are you doing. So like every time you complete an activity during the day, you write it down. Had podcasts with Elizabeth. Afterwards, I did the editing. Afterwards, I had my lunch, whatever, right? You're writing everything down. You do that for a whole week. And then you analyze after a week, you analyze what did you do and you categorize it. Was it work? Was it like rest, sleep, all the major things, teaching or going to work or getting the kids to their soccer practice, like everything, right? You categorize everything. And then you realize that what you thought you were doing is probably not, right? Either you're doing way more than you thought or way less. And including if you're watching TV, right? A lot of times people will say like, oh, I could never do that because I don't have the time. I'm so busy. And then they do this shadowing exercise and they realize they've watched 30 hours of Netflix or did 30 hours of gaming online. Then you realize, my goodness, I have so much time. And like, look, 30 hours is out of 168 hours. That's all that we have in a week is 168 hours. If you're doing like 1/5 of it or whatever, you're just kissing it goodbye, doing like garbage activities, going into that experiment. Cause I had to do it myself before I'm going to be teaching it to anybody. Right. So I did that. And then I realized that, yeah, I am really busy and I do watch too much TV, but I rationalized it saying that, oh, but it's actually like research because I would teach screenwriting and stuff and story structure. So, but like Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, flow, fame, and creativity, happiness psychologist, he said that only about 10% of the TV that we watch or stuff online that we watch is useful, only about 10%, and only if it's documentaries on our topic. Yeah. So we're kidding ourselves if we think that that it relaxes us. It actually doesn't. It does the opposite. Gaming or watching on TV or whatever. It's not actually relaxing for the nervous system. And especially if you're watching horror films before you go to bed. What I realized was that after I tracked everything, I realized that I was super busy and I was watching too much TV and I didn't have any downtime. I was literally go, 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 drop into bed, get up, go, 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 drop into bed. That's all I did the whole week. I knew that I had to prioritize my health and my mental well-being because nobody can run on a full tank of gas forever, right? And the way that we recharge our batteries or top up the gas in our engine is by getting at least 8 hours of sleep every day, but also by doing restorative things like going for a walk in nature, maybe taking a dance class or a painting class or writing in our journal, anything like that to recharge. I actually need to do that and put that into my calendar. I consciously every quarter, I look what's coming up and I put my health and well-being somewhere in that schedule. If I don't schedule it in, I'm not going to get it done.
I really need to start doing that. When I first started it, Doug has that control your time, right? At that time, I quit watching TV. I might sit down and eat dinner and watch TV for 20 minutes, maybe. Just because I'm eating dinner and it's probably a habit. You know, when you're eating dinner, what is it about eating dinner that makes you want to watch TV while you're eating? And then you just want to turn it off. That's how I am right now. Yeah, and even my son, he's like, I want to watch my phone while I eat. And I mean, it's not a good habit, I don't think. He doesn't really do that a lot. So, okay, we'll do that. I mean, I've completely cut out that. My problem is just organizing my time as far as business goes. Yeah. I get lost in the task and I go from one little thing to this, to this, to this. And I know there's like a million things I need to do because I have very limited time to work on it. Right. I work 10-hour shifts every single day and I just don't have a lot of time. So just being able to focus on the task and get it done and move on to the next is something I struggle with. I want to work on 5 things at once and you don't get anything accomplished that way. No. So, but I definitely love your strategy of tracking basically what you're doing and for a week and then go back and see where you need to make improvements. So
Yeah.
that's something that I really need to implement again and go back through that module in A&O and take control of my time again.
Yeah.
How do you handle failure or setbacks? Have you ever experienced that and how did you handle it?
Yes. So the life of the entrepreneur is filled with ups and downs and challenges and failures. And one of my favorite quotes is from Samuel Beckett. It's fail, fail again, fail better. I've shared that with groups of people and most are just horrified at the thought of actually embracing failure. The thing is that Samuel Beckett was a playwright. He would try to create a play, to write one, and inevitably there would be things that would come up and writer's block or whatever, or he couldn't get it produced. There's always issues and challenges. If you're failing, that means that you're trying. If you fail, that means that you tried to do something that didn't work. Great. Get back up, try again, right? The fact that you're going through these successive failures means that you're learning from each one, hopefully. And then you can fail better, i.e. have more success, right? Even Oprah says that failures are the stepping stones to success. In the beginning, I was frustrated because I wasn't getting the traction that I wanted. I wasn't getting seen or heard or whatever. It's like, no wonder I wasn't being out there and I wasn't letting myself be seen. Here I am in the third month of religiously every day posting something and just getting out there. For me, getting over those setbacks, I would put all my energy into something and then it wouldn't give me the results that I wanted. Then I would go and hide and lick my wounds for about 2 or 3 months. Then I say, okay, let's try it again. But I kept doing the same thing, right? I would be doing all this awesome stuff. At the first sign of failure, I would just like walk away from it. And I did that so many times. Eventually, I realized that I have to give myself a chance to see that growth. And if I am not consistent, nothing is going to happen, right? You can't stop and start and think that that's going to lead to success. You have to start as you mean to go on. I have, in the last few years, really embraced that imperfectly, but it's much more front and center in my mind than it had ever been. And I found that part of the reason that I didn't see the success I wanted was because I didn't do the follow-up. Because there were so many people that would come to my retreats or my online events. I would do the offer and then I wouldn't follow up. That's the other thing that I'm doing a lot differently now. When I started my coaching program, I think it was now 5 years ago, it was only because I followed up with people that had come to my program and I said to them, like my 3-day event, and I was teaching them how to do their origin story in the 3-day event. And they actually had the draft of their origin story. And all they had to do was polish it up a little bit and then find a home for it in their emails. Then 3 months later, I contacted them all and I had a little Zoom call with them just to touch base. I said, so how is your origin story going? Did you finish it? Did you use it in your business? Not one of them did it. Not one of them. So I invited them into my coaching program at that point. That made me realize that it is in the follow-up. Success is in the follow-up. And my failure in the past before that was not doing the follow-up. And in fact, I was in a challenge, a habit challenge, and the person who runs it, he said that about 75% of the people that he gets into his program after the challenge is up is through the follow-up, 75 to 80%, right? So some people know right away that they're ready to invest in your program, but most of them need more touch points. They also need to feel like you're treating them as a person, not as a number. Because if you're just relying on like one thing and then here's the offer and then never contact them again, it kind of makes them feel like, oh, well, they were only interested in my money.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, with the follow-up though, because for me, I don't want to feel salesy. I don't want to call damn people, like even sending an email. This is how bad it is for me. I just have this fear. Okay, I'm working through it. But what is your experience with that when you do follow up? Is that maybe one of the reasons why you just didn't before, was that you were afraid of being too salesy and making that offer to them in their DM or their email?
Yeah, absolutely. So clearly I had a lot of issues around money that I had to get out and analyze and get through, because the fact of the matter is that they are attracted to your initial event or live or whatever it is, because they think that you have a solution for them. And then if you don't follow up on that, grounded in your expertise of that solution, then you're doing a disservice to them, right? I've heard this like a zillion times. You probably heard that. It's a disservice.
Yeah.
How dare you not offer your gifts, right? Then I realized like that is so true. We have to really believe in our own abilities in order to be able to stand up for other people like that. I really believe that for me, it was a lack of self-confidence, right? Or imposter syndrome. At the end of the day, I am an expert in story. And at the end of the day, I know that I've helped countless people with their stories. I know that this person that came to my event, and if I don't follow up on them, that they're probably going to go to some other story coach that's just going to treat them like a template. Templates are great for some things, but not for your personal story, and definitely not for the first version of your story that you're unearthing, right? You can't put it in a box even before you've gotten it out of your body, right? Like it's not authentic, right? It's not going to resonate with you if you do that. That's another one of my things, is that I really want people to feel that the story that they're using in their business is them, that it represents them, and that there's no gap between who they are and the story that they're sharing. I know that so many people don't really feel like it's their story because it's like through a template or it's been overly edited by the other story coach or whatever. My business is called Own Your Creativity, right? I just feel it's so important to own your creativity, own your story, own your power and your expertise, and know that you have something that nobody else does, and people need that, right? They can't find it anywhere else except with you. And don't hoard it and don't hide it under a bushel, and get out there. That was a big block. It was a big setback. We don't have a lot of time on earth, right? And I don't want to be on my deathbed thinking, geez, like I really should have stood up more and helped more people. Like I don't want to say that to myself. I want to say I stood up to the best of my ability and I helped as many people as I could humanly help, right? I want to say that. I don't want to say like, oh, I missed all these opportunities to help people and then they got subpar help from somebody else.
There's so much there. I don't want to get to the end of my life not living what I want to live. I feel so strongly passionate about helping people. I've felt this for 20 years, and I searched and searched and searched to find where I belong. And I feel like I finally am where I belong because I get to interview great people, amazing people that are making a difference. My mom, she's not doing well. We don't know how long we're going to have her. It's truly made me go out there and just start. I got to get this because I would love for her to be proud of me. And I know she is.
Yeah. I understand exactly what you mean. And I remember you on the calls in A&O and how you wouldn't even turn on your camera.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And in our meetings, but like here you are doing lives, your podcast, and then putting it onto Instagram and all that stuff. And this is a huge, huge, huge accomplishment. And the fact that you were able to do that in such a short span of time and to do it so consistently and so often, I have no doubt that you are going to be able to do that follow up with confidence and love, right? And from a place of service, like in no time. It's just around the corner for you because you've made so much progress and you can just capitalize on that momentum. You're destined for big things.
We're doing this for them. It's not for us.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. It's because I struggled for 20 years. I don't want them to have to do the same thing.
It does help you because then you're living your purpose, right? God put us here on earth, or the spirit of the universe, whatever you want to say. We're put here with divine gifts to share, to make the world better. And so it is for us. It's like when I get a client, I'm able to help them. It's like I'm living my purpose. And I'm so grateful for them to give me the opportunity to do that. That's the other thing that I'm so passionate about, is that we can't be an entrepreneur by ourselves. People say, oh, I'm a solopreneur. It's like, no, there's no such thing of being solo. Maybe you work on your own, but you can't have a business unless you have clients, right? Even like a book. His book is not finished unless it has a reader, right? And so like we each complete each other. So we have to be in community, and we have to understand that our gifts don't find their fullest expression until they have helped somebody else, and still until they're reflected back. And it's like, oh my goodness, I didn't know that. Thank you for your help, right? Then like that segment is complete, right? Of our expression of ourselves. It is for us. And we are privileged when we get to have clients because they're helping us complete our mission here on earth.
And they help us grow and learn too.
Exactly.
I know you have a community, but do you have anything coming up, or where's the
Yeah.
they can find you?
I'm on Facebook. I also have ownyourcreativity.com. There they can find a link to join my community. It's a free community on School called Story Lounge. And if they wanted to join the Story Circle writing workshop, it's a free writing workshop just to kickstart your creativity and get more into the flow of seeing ideas everywhere. That's one of the main things that a lot of people say is that I don't know what to write about. I don't know what stories to share. It's just like a quick little 2-hour workshop where I guide you through some exercises and activities and you share in community, and it's really fun.
I love it. I'm in your community too, and it's just so much. I love what you do. I'm really glad that you were able to come and sit down and share your wisdom and share about what you do, how unique it is, the unique perspectives that you have about mentors, things like that. That's something that I didn't think about until you brought it up. Is there any advice that you would give someone from my audience that is listening to this?
I would say whatever that little voice inside of you is saying, to tune in and listen to it and then act on it. One of the reasons that I'm so passionate about story is that it's connected to our creativity and owning our creativity. And I believe that creativity is the gateway to us living our soul's purpose. So if you're in a 9-to-5 job, it's probably not giving you that creative outlet for your soul that you would like it to have. It's so important to listen to that voice about what it wants to express and give it a voice, give it a space. You might not have to leave your 9-to-5 job. A lot of people have really creative lives without being an entrepreneur, but you do need to make room and space in your life for that creativity, because it's through your creativity that you will realize your soul's purpose and mission on earth.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Invisible Marketer podcast. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Elizabeth, where she shared her unique insights into the world of storytelling. If you would like to access today's show note, you can head on over to invisiblemarketer.com/stories. Stay tuned for more inspiring discussions on how you can use your superpower to get out there and make a difference.